This is delicious, y'all. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Art of Creation Homestead. We are in the kitchen right now, and we're going to be showing you how to do something that we love to do a few times every year. It's a great use of some homegrown tomatoes. So we only do it in the summertime because obviously we only have homegrown tomatoes in the summertime. But we take some beautiful homegrown tomatoes, and we make this. Well, Angela makes this beautiful dish, and so she's over here messing around right now, and so she's got some instructions for you, and she's going to show you how to make this. All right, so let's go over there.
So what we are making today is beef and tomato pie, and it has a biscuit crust. What can be bad about that?
Ain't nothing wrong with them biscuits.
It's kind of like the old Southern tomato pie, but made into a whole meal. And with a biscuit crust. So what we have here is I just made biscuit dough. If you don't know how to make biscuits, I just use my recipe for biscuit dough. We will throw an iCard up or something that you can find that video easily to make homemade biscuits. Or if you just don't have the time to make homemade biscuits for this crust, you can use Bisquick. You can use about 2.5 cups of Bisquick with a little bit of milk until it makes a nice dough, and it will be a sufficient crust. It won't be as good as homemade, nope. But it will be a sufficient crust.
It'll work, but this is better.
And you just want to pat it out into your pan. And as you can see, I'm patting it up the sides of the pan just a little bit. You don't want to pat it really far up the sides of the pan. You just want to pat it just a little bit up the sides of the pan just to make a nice crust. And while you're patting this in, you want to make sure you preheat your oven to 375 degrees. And you want to make sure it's nice and preheated because this has to par bake before you add the wonderful toppings to this, which there's nothing bad about any of the toppings that go on this. Nope. Now, you can, I suppose you could use store-bought tomatoes with this. Couldn't imagine it.
It ain't worth it.
Couldn't imagine it.
It ain't worth it.
Store-bought tomatoes taste like cardboard.
See, it ain't these right here. Look at this. Beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful.
So we're gonna, that's almost done. We're gonna finish getting this patted into the pan, and then I'll show you what we do next. Now it's all nice and patted in. Now we're gonna pop it into the 375 degree oven until it starts to puff nicely and starts to get a little bit of golden brown around the edges. It'll take about 10 to 12 minutes. And then I'll show you what we do while that's baking. Now, while that is par baking, we are going to brown 1 pound of ground beef. I'm using 80-20 because you don't want a lot of fat there, but you do want some fat. So I'm using 80-20, and I'm using this medieval torture device to break it up. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's a mixing shop. I think it looks like a medieval torture device. Mm-hmm. Looks like you could beat somebody with it, but it works great. And you just want to season it with some salt and pepper. And you want to brown it till it's nice and brown, and then drain as much of the grease off as you can possibly get off, because you don't want that grease in your beef and tomato pie. Okay, while that is baking, we have browned our beef. We have sliced about 3 tomatoes. These were medium to large tomatoes, and we sliced them about medium.
Yeah. You can slice them however thick you want.
Yeah, basically however thick you want them. We just like them a little thicker because I love tomatoes.
They are going to get baked, by the way.
Yes,
so
they are. They're not going to be raw.
Right.
And then I have 2 peppers here, but you can do 1 large or 2 small of any type of peppers that you like. This is a red pepper, an Ajvarsky, and a Cubanelle. You can do green bells. You can do.
We just do whatever's in the garden.
You can do whatever's in your garden, coming in your garden.
Yeah.
If you want some heat, you can do some jalapeno.
Yeah.
Anything you want, anything you like. If you don't like peppers, you can leave them out, but peppers are really good in it.
A good homegrown pepper really helps this dish out a lot, to be honest with you.
Yes. Now in this bowl, we are getting ready to make the topping. And I have a cup of sour cream and a cup of mayonnaise. This is Duke's mayonnaise.
Yep.
And you want to mix those two together really well. And to this, we are going to, of course, add some salt and pepper. This is just to taste. I'm just adding a couple of good pinches. And a decent amount of black pepper.
Yep.
It can take a good amount of black pepper.
Really can.
And I usually like to add just a little sprinkle of garlic powder.
And thanks for garlic, yeah.
That garlic just adds such a good flavor to it. But you don't want to add raw garlic to it because it may not have time to cook, that it would lose its harshness.
That's a good point.
Now we have, this is about 1.5 cups to 2 cups, depending on how much cheese you like, of sharp cheddar cheese. Now I will tell you, you can use pre-grated, but from my experience, I've done both with this recipe. It always works better if you grate it yourself. It melts better, you get a much better topping.
Yep.
It breaks down better. It's just so much better with what you grate yourself.
Because it doesn't have that starch on the outside.
Yes. And now, I'm using sharp cheddar, but you can use any cheese you want, really. You could use mozzarella, you could use pepper jack,
Yeah.
you could use anything you like. But I really like the sharp cheddar with it. The sharpness goes really well with it.
That's what we've always done. We've always done sharp cheddar. It's really good.
And you just want to mix all that together. And that's your topping for the whole thing. And if you ask me, this topping is part of what makes it, that and homegrown veggies.
Yeah, it's a good use of these guys right here. These really, you might not realize it, but these two right here, you can really taste them a lot in this dish.
Our biscuit crust is now par baked. It's not fully baked.
Right.
It's still going to be a little bit doughy because it's going to finish baking as everything bakes together.
Essentially, you just want this outer crust, this outer layer crusted up a little bit.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Now I'm using a slotted spoon to drain the grease off my hamburger meat as I'm putting it on here, because you don't really want any of that grease on there. Now you just want to spread a layer of this seasoned beef on there, and you want to leave a rim for your crust. Okay, now we're going to add our tomatoes, and as you can see, I've got 3 different colors of tomatoes over here. That, to me, that just makes it even better. To have multiple tomatoes in it and not just have one type of tomato in it, to me, that just makes it even better.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you want to sprinkle some salt on your tomatoes, but you want to sprinkle some salt and pepper on there. You want them to taste good. And as you can see, I'm just kind of alternating colors. But that's just a me thing. That's not a you have to alternate colors. You have to have multiple colors. That's just a me thing. That's just a me being me thing. And now I'm going to cut some of these big slices in half.
Because they were big tomatoes. They were good.
Yes. And we've had a lot of big tomatoes this year.
So that was a Bonnie Best that you just cut in half. This is a hillbilly.
Yes.
What was the purple one?
That one is a Cherokee purple.
Cherokee purple, okay. Because we had that one in carbon, I wasn't sure which one it was. So yeah, so hillbilly, Bonnie Best, which is a really good one.
Yes.
And Cherokee purple, which is, this is my favorite, that's Angela's favorite.
Yes. Now you want a really good layer of tomato on there.
Yeah. Yep.
You want a really good layer. And now you want to give it a good seasoning of some salt and pepper.
Notice there's 3 slices of Angela's favorite on there and 2 slices of Jason's favorite on there.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
You're gonna wedge it in there.
I'll wedge it in there somewhere. There we go.
I was just playing though. You should have seen the look on her face. You never seen the look on her face. It was funny. Oh, it's good stuff. You gotta have fun. Gotta have fun picking on each other.
As your mom would say, you just do that stuff for devilment.
Probably.
And then you want to sprinkle your peppers over the top. He's still laughing at himself.
Yeah, that's funny. Anytime you get a chance to get your woman riled up, just take it.
Your woman?
Yeah, that kid.
Now I'm going to add just another little tiny sprinkle of salt for my peppers, because the peppers need a little bit of salt. Just a little bit more pepper. And now we're going to top it with that delicious topping. And you just want to dollop it around just by, you don't want to dollop it in great big dollops, just little dollops, because you can spread it better if they're little. And now that it's all dolloped on, now you can just spread it around. Now you're going to pick up some pieces of your peppers, a little bit here and there. It's fine.
It'll be fun.
It's fine. It's impossible to put this on top without picking up pieces of your peppers.
It's all going to be mixed in anyways.
Yes.
It's okay. I was like, once that cooks, won't it settle down in there a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything settles, and
It'll be fun.
it's because your tomatoes start cooking and everything, so everything settles.
It's a Christmas season.
Are you Buddy the Elf?
It's like Christmas season. The red and green.
Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color? Okay. Now you want to spread it out to the crust and a little past the crust as well, because it'll just make the crust taste even better. Okay. Now you want to sprinkle it with some paprika. You can use smoked paprika or regular paprika.
Just be careful with
Just
the
be
smoke.
careful with the smoked, because it
Yeah.
can add too much
It can
smokiness.
be a little too much. It can be a little too much. So, yeah.
Now, I choose not to use the shaker for paprika because it tends to spit out too much
It
clumps.
clumps. It does clump.
So I tend to just use my fingers. That way I can control it better. Because while I love paprika, you don't really want a mouthful of it. Because it kind of ruins the experience if you have
Everyone
a
eats a
mouth.
spoonful of paprika?
No.
Well, okay. Just checking. What's your problem?
I'm going to do the paprika challenge like
Do it.
people were doing the cinnamon challenge.
Yeah.
Okay, now we are going to place this in our 375 degree oven until it's all bubbly and the crust is all brown and it's all bubbly. I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out. This deliciousness is out of the oven now. It baked for between 25 and 30 minutes until it was nice and bubbly around the edges and the crust is nice and golden brown. And now you want to let it sit for just a few minutes,
Needs to set up.
because it needs to set up
It does.
kind of like you would a lasagna or something like that. You need to let it sit so that it kind of cools down a little and sets up a little before you try to cut it.
Yeah.
And also, you're going to burn your pie hole.
Yep. It does get really hot.
And very hot.
All right, here it is. Hopefully you can see this big old bite of deliciousness. There's a little steam coming off of it, so I'm scared I'm gonna burn myself. Because you can burn yourself. Seriously, it holds its heat, so be careful. This is delicious, y'all. I love it. We only do it 2 or 3 times a year because it's only good in season. Don't try it any other way. Please. You'll ruin yourself on it. It's so good. Homegrown peppers, homegrown tomatoes, a good biscuit crust, some Duke's mayonnaise. I mean, so good, so delicious. And for us, it's too much for one night. We'll eat again tomorrow night. And it's just as good tomorrow night, if not better. So, it's a good use for some tomatoes. Thank you guys so much for watching. We do appreciate it. My name's Jason. That's Angela Kay. It's Art of Creation Homestead. We love y'all. God bless you and goodbye.